Cousin Jay. We're going to spend a couple days going fishing. I'll be leaving Arizona probably about the 18th or 19th and go somewhere else for a while. And I've got other things to do. As I mentioned before, I intend to keep pushing the case for the old term lifers. I intend to keep pushing for the release or at least the review of the elderly inmates. And I will keep pushing for help and consideration for the Justice Project because, as you know, they exist on contributions in there. Well, they're a great group. They are my second family. That's the truth.
Bill, after 37 years, you said you saw some things that were mind-boggling. Can you give me an example of what you saw? That 4 examples?
If you won't laugh, I'll tell you. I told my family about this. I went to bed last night and I turned off the big light in the bedroom and I wanted to turn on this small lamp. I couldn't find the darn switch. And I just happened to touch the side of the lamp, the darn thing went on. And I touched it again, it went on even brighter, and I thinking, my God, what the hell we got here? Things like that. The world has passed me by in 4 decades, but I'm not overly interested in totally catching up, but I will catch up to the degree I have to. I've got a lot to do. Fortunately, I'm computer literate. I taught computer science down at the prison. So I'm going to get up on the internet and go to work.
You were in court yesterday, and when family members of the 2 people who were killed spoke, I noticed you didn't turn back. You stared directly towards the front of the room, and you heard their words. You heard that they don't believe that you're an innocent man. And maybe not all of our viewers, listeners, and readers believe that. What do you say to the victims' families, and to those who may not look at you as an innocent man?
Well, let me just say that I felt the utmost sympathy for them yesterday because of their loss. They've had a tragic occurrence in their life, and losing family members like they lost them is terrible. As Judge Cohen said, how does one put oneself in their place and feel as they feel? But, ladies and gentlemen, the same holds true for these people. This case is nothing more than a set of victims from beginning to end. Victims of the family of the 2 that were killed, myself, my family, we're all victims. And that's about it.
Would you hope that someday that they look at you as another one of the victims or as an innocent man? Do you hope and pray for that?
I would hope it would happen, but we'll have to look at time and see what time has in store for us.
You could have changed your plea to guilty and walked free a few years ago.
Wasn't even a consideration.
Why not?
I was asked, I teach a history course, an American history course out of the prison, involving World War II, post-war in Korea. And I was asked questions by these young men about what I considered important. I said the order of importance is truth, freedom, responsibility. You can have nothing else if you don't have truth. You cannot have freedom without truth. You cannot have freedom without responsibility. Truth is truth. It will never change. Innocence never changes. Guilt never changes. The truth of this case was true in 1974, and it will be true the day I die.
Bill, how do you feel about some of our elected officials? First, you have the county attorney who yesterday said we're letting a killer go, and he did call it a technicality. And then you have Governor Brewer who could have done something. I mean, these are all elected officials. How do you feel?
Two things. One, Mr. Montgomery was saying only what he would have to say as the man that he is, the office that he represents. Understand? Governor Brewer. My brother and I were taught at a very young age by my parents some very good basic rules. One of those rules was that if you can't say something nice about somebody, don't say nothing at all. So with your permission, ma'am, I'll say nothing at all.
The way Mr. Graham outlines the story involving the other man or the eyewitness, it seems like it was fairly shoddy police work. Do you harbor resentment or anger over the way that all of that was handled?
Understand that it was not necessarily shoddy police work. You've got to remember, this was almost 4 decades ago. Forensic science has changed radically over the last 4 decades. Police work has changed radically over the last 4 decades. What may seem harum-scarum to us as we look back was rule of thumb in those days, okay? So, no, I harbor no resentment. I have a lot of questions. Unfortunately, the people that could give me the answers are all dead, so that's where I have to leave it.
When did you find out about Ernie Valenzuela or that someone else had confessed to these crimes repeatedly? What year was that?
I found 1975, 76, somewhere. I was told that Dad came in one night to the jail and told me that something to the effect that they found that somebody had confessed to the murders. And of course, Dad was right away thinking, hey, this is the end of it. You know, this will be all there is. And of course, you know the rest of the story. That never came to being. That evidence never reached the jury.
Bill, where were you the night that those 2 people were killed?
I don't have the least idea of where I was. Tell me where you were a month ago today at 3 o'clock. It's impossible. And when you're looking 10 years, 12 years, 15 years back, how do you differentiate one kind from another? Unless some specific thing happens to denote it. Okay? I have no idea where I was that night. I do know where I was not. And I was not north of Scottsdale on the desert.
Do you have anybody to forgive, and have you forgiven them?
I don't know who I would have to forgive. I would not have to forgive the jury for what they've done because they've done the only thing that they could have done given what information they were given. No, that question would take a great deal of thought. I don't think we have the time for that right now.
When your second trial goes the way it did, you appeal, there seems to be a gap of time between your last appeal of your second conviction and when Larry Hammond gets involved. You still held hope even though it seemed like there was no way to get you out? Or what were you thinking? Were you trying things during those years?
Let me put it this way. I entered the Arizona State prison system. It was rated as the most violent, or one of the most violent prison systems in the United States. When you survive a number of years in that environment, yes, there's always hope for everything after that, believe me. And I've always had faith in the Justice Project. And, the Perkins and Coy have done an absolutely fantastic job. Whether or not you're willing to accept the facts, The facts are there. We don't need to elaborate on it, we don't need to. Before it happened, I had all the faith in the world, I suppose. I learned a lot of valuable lessons about the justice system over the years. But as I was telling someone very short time ago, I down at the prison I have a deal called thoughtful quotes that I write. Put on the board, the guys get a big kick out of it. The last one, finally the last one on that list is justice, however late, is still justice.
Sir, it doesn't seem that prison changed you much. Was there times where you were more angry than we see today, or
No.
more violent than we see?
No. When you speak of violence, sir, violence comes in two forms. It comes in oppressing or it comes in defensive. You had to be somewhat violent in those days to survive. I mean, not in the sense that you go out and potentially hurt somebody, but you do whatever you had to do to stay alive. That's the bottom line. Most of you were too young to remember those days, but they were very sad days. Unfortunately, prison systems have changed radically since then.
Maybe one more question, unless you guys have got it?
I have a question about his ex-wife. I know there you believe that she planted evidence. Is there any possibility she's ever going to be looked at by the criminal justice system in that particular sense?
I don't think so. I see no indication that the criminal justice system is prepared to do anything about that or anything else that might have caused the system to work as poorly as it did.
Do you think she set him up?
I do defer to Phil's thought about that. This is not a time to be addressing that question.
Bill, is there anything you would like your ex-wife to know? I'm sure she'll hear and see this story.
No, nothing whatsoever. No contact. If I never hear her name again,
I know you do have a relationship with at least one of your sons.
so it's right there. The big one.
What about your two other sons that you don't have a relationship with? What would you want them to
My
hear?
middle son, Stephen, died in June this year. My oldest son, Scott, I have not heard from for 30 years. I don't know what all of this is what effect it will have on Scott. It may have an effect of changing his mind, it may not have an effect of changing his mind. Only time will tell. But I have one whisper right now.
Thank you a lot for coming. If you wanted to